Michael and Emily Thompson thought they were just going to enjoy a quiet Saturday night at the movies, unaware that their lives were about to end in the most chilling way imaginable. They laughed over popcorn, settled into the corner of the last row, and let the glow of the screen wash over them, completely unaware of the danger lurking above. By the time the credits rolled, their ordinary date night had turned into a nightmare, leaving investigators scrambling to uncover how two people could die in a crowded theater without anyone noticing. Their story begins like any other, but what happened in that dark and last row would shock the city and reveal a meticulously planned murder that no one could have anticipated. On a chilly Saturday evening, the city streets were quiet, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights reflecting off wet pavement from an earlier drizzle. Among the few people walking through the deserted streets, a young couple made their way toward an old cinema at the edge of town. They had been together for 3 years, and while they were well-liked by friends and colleagues, they preferred to keep their lives private. Their relationship was calm and uncomplicated: dinners at home, walks in the park, and occasional weekend outings like this one. This particular night, they had decided to treat themselves to a late movie, a small escape from their routines, unaware that it would become the final chapter of their lives. The cinema they chose had a reputation for being slightly outdated, but it carried a nostalgic charm, with faded posters of films past and creaking wooden floors that gave a faint echo as people walked down the aisles. The marquee outside flickered intermittently, a silent witness to countless visitors over the years. The couple walked through the entrance, holding hands briefly before letting go to buy tickets. They moved slowly, almost casually, stopping to glance at the concession stand. Popcorn was a must, they decided, along with 2 drinks, their choices habitual, comfortable, almost mundane. Security cameras captured their entry, the tickets they purchased, and their leisurely walk to the very last row of the theater. To any onlooker, it was just a regular evening, an ordinary couple enjoying a night out. The theater was sparsely populated, only a handful of other moviegoers scattered across the seats. No one suspected that these moments, small, simple, seemingly insignificant, would be the last peaceful minutes they would ever experience. Every detail of their evening, from the way they ordered snacks to the way they settled into their seats, seemed ordinary. Yet beneath this ordinary surface, an unseen danger awaited them, quietly preparing. The couple settled in a back row, their footsteps soft against the worn carpet as they took their seats in the corner, farthest from the aisle. The theater was quiet, the faint murmur of a few other viewers the only sound as the lights dimmed and the previews began. The screen flickered to life, casting a pale glow across their faces. For them, it was just another movie night, a small escape from the routines of work and responsibilities. They leaned slightly toward each other, sharing an occasional glance, the faint smiles on their faces almost unnoticed in the dim light. Throughout the first half of the film, everything seemed normal. The couple was attentive, completely absorbed in the story unfolding on the screen. Occasionally, one would reach for the popcorn, and the other would adjust the drink cup, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. Around them, the theater was sparsely populated. A few groups of friends whispered quietly, and a family in the middle rows occasionally rustled with children's laughter. The couple in the back row, however, remained still, almost statuesque, focused entirely on the movie. As the film progressed, some viewers got up to leave, walking past them on their way to the restroom or the snack counter. The couple barely noticed, immersed in the flickering images on the screen. The last row, already darker than the rest due to a broken overhead light, seemed almost like a separate world. Shadows stretched across the carpet, wrapping around the couple's seats, giving them an isolation that went unnoticed by anyone else. By the halfway point, no one paid attention to them at all. Their presence faded into the background, just 2 figures in the darkness at the very back of the theater. The quiet of the room and the focus on the film created an invisible barrier around them, a bubble that no one else penetrated. Little did anyone know this small, ordinary choice, the last row, the corner seats, the obscurity of shadows, would. About 15 minutes after the movie ended, the theater was nearly empty. The few remaining patrons had left, chatting quietly in the lobby or heading to the parking lot, unaware that something was terribly wrong. The cleaning staff arrived, pushing carts filled with trash bags, paper towels, and cleaning supplies, ready to prepare the theater for the next day. The smell of buttered popcorn still lingered faintly in the air, mixed with the faint scent of soda and the musty odor of old carpeting. As one of the employees walked down the aisle toward the last row, something immediately seemed off. 2 seats remained occupied, even though the movie had ended and the theater was emptying. At first, the worker thought they were simply asleep, perhaps exhausted from a long week. But as he stepped closer, a chilling realization set in. The couple in the back row was completely motionless. Their heads rested awkwardly against the seat backs, their bodies unnaturally still. The popcorn bucket that had been between them had fallen to the floor, spilling its contents across the carpet. One of the soda cups had toppled over, the sticky liquid spreading slowly into the seams of the old flooring. Every detail suggested sudden stillness, a life frozen mid-motion. The cleaning employee froze, staring for a moment, disbelief written across his face. Realizing the severity of the situation, he quickly backed away and called for help. Within minutes, the theater was surrounded by flashing police lights, uniformed officers pouring into the building, their radios crackling with urgent reports. Investigators arrived, sealing off the area and questioning the few remaining witnesses. The auditorium, once quiet and ordinary, now held an air of tension and fear. Medical personnel examined the couple, but the signs were grim. Both were dead. There were no signs of struggle, no visible injuries, no clues that explained how or why they had died. Investigators arrived at the theater within minutes, their presence filling the quiet building with a tense, almost electric energy. Crime scene tape stretched across the aisles, separating the couple in the back row from the rest of the theater. Officers moved carefully, photographing every angle, taking notes, and examining the seats, the carpet, and the surrounding area for any signs of disturbance. Every detail mattered, and the calm, ordinary setting of the theater made the scene feel even more eerie. There were no signs of struggle, nothing overturned beyond the spilled popcorn and drink, and yet 2 people had died in plain sight of the public, unnoticed until the cleaning staff discovered them. Medical examiners arrived shortly after, confirming the chilling reality. Both victims were dead. Their bodies showed no external trauma, no scratches, cuts, or bruises that might explain their sudden passing. Detectives began asking questions, but the answers were few. Patrons who had left the theater earlier insisted they had seen nothing unusual. People had entered and exited the cinema normally, with no one lingering suspiciously near the last row. Even the concession staff and ticket takers reported nothing out of the ordinary. As investigators reviewed the theater's security footage, the mystery deepened. The cameras in the lobby, hallways, and entrance captured the couple arriving, buying tickets, and taking their seats. They appeared completely ordinary, behaving like any other patrons. Nothing on the tapes suggested danger or threat. The officers began to realize the enormity of the situation. 2 people had died in a semi-public space, yet no witnesses had seen anything amiss. The question that haunted everyone present was impossible to ignore. How could this have happened? The couple had been surrounded by people, yet no one noticed anything that might have saved them. The investigation quickly shifted into overdrive as detectives combed through every available lead. Officers interviewed friends, family, and co-workers of the couple, trying to uncover any reason someone might want to harm them. But everywhere they looked, the picture of their lives remained the same: quiet, ordinary, unremarkable. They had steady jobs, no known enemies, and no recent conflicts that anyone could recall. Friends described them as kind, polite, and reserved, people who avoided drama and valued their privacy. It was difficult to understand why anyone would target them. Meanwhile, forensic teams meticulously examined the theater itself. Every seat, every carpet seam, every corner of the darkened last row was scrutinized. Technicians checked the air vents, walls, and ceilings for signs of tampering or chemical residue. Surveillance footage was reviewed again and again, frame by frame, capturing every person who entered and exited the building that night. But the footage revealed nothing out of the ordinary. No suspicious individuals loitered, no strange objects were brought inside, and no one appeared near the couple before the movie began. One of the few unusual observations detectives noted was the condition of the last row. A broken overhead light left the corner seats shrouded in shadows, darker than the rest of the theater. It was a small detail, almost insignificant, but it added an eerie element to an already perplexing case. Sitting there, the couple had been isolated, almost invisible to the rest of the theater. Despite hours of searching and questioning, no leads emerged. The absence of witnesses or apparent motives made the case feel like a puzzle with pieces missing. Every avenue seemed to end in a dead end, and the detectives grew increasingly uneasy. The more they investigated, the more it became clear that this was not a random accident or natural cause. Something deliberate had occurred, something planned. The ordinary theater. 2 days after the couple's deaths, the autopsy results arrived, bringing the investigation into sharper focus, but also raising more questions than answers. The medical examiner reported that both victims had died from the same cause, a rare and potent toxin. It wasn't something one could ingest accidentally, nor could it be naturally occurring in the environment. The poison was carefully designed to act slowly, causing dizziness and paralysis before stopping the heart, leaving the body with no external signs of trauma. The revelation stunned investigators. This new information shifted the focus of the investigation entirely. The deaths were no longer a mysterious accident. They were deliberate. But the circumstances remained puzzling. How could a toxin have reached only 2 people in a theater full of patrons? No one else had shown any symptoms, and the theater had been occupied by other viewers at the same time. It seemed impossible that the poison could have been delivered so precisely. Detectives began to examine the theater's ventilation system, looking for any point where a harmful substance could have been released. Their attention was drawn to the last row, the very seats the couple had chosen. It was a dark corner, isolated from the rest of the audience, and directly beneath a ceiling vent that circulated air throughout the auditorium. Could the toxin have been introduced through the ventilation system? Technicians inspected the vent carefully, but initially found nothing obvious. Yet the theory made sense. A controlled release of gas or aerosol from the air vent could explain how only the couple had been affected. It was an unusual method, requiring knowledge and planning. Whoever was responsible had understood the theater's layout intimately and had chosen the victims' seats in advance. This discovery added a chilling new layer to the case. The deaths were not random, nor were they careless. They had been engineered to be silent, unnoticed, and deadly. Technicians returned to the theater for a more detailed inspection of the ventilation system, this time with specialized equipment to detect any foreign objects or chemical traces. After hours of careful examination, they discovered a small, mechanical device hidden inside the duct above the last row. It was inconspicuous, camouflaged against the metal of the vent, and had clearly been placed with deliberate intent. The device appeared to be designed to release a gas slowly over time, the very mechanism needed to explain how the couple had been exposed to a fatal dose while others in the theater remained unharmed. Detectives were both horrified and fascinated. Whoever had installed it had to know exactly when and where the couple would be sitting. It was a level of planning and precision that went beyond random violence. The darkened corner, the choice of the last row, and the timing of the film all indicated a careful understanding of both human behavior and the theater's physical layout. The crime was silent, invisible to all but the perpetrators. Investigators now shifted their focus to the couple's recent activities. They combed through emails, financial records, and social interactions, searching for anyone who might have harbored a grudge or had reason to cause harm. It was then that they discovered something alarming. One member of the couple had recently exposed financial fraud at their workplace. This report had caused significant losses for certain individuals, people who were desperate and angry enough to retaliate. The theory began to take shape. The couple's deaths were not a random act of cruelty or an unfortunate accident. They had been targeted. The perpetrator had studied their routines, identified a predictable habit, and exploited it with lethal efficiency. The small device in the vent, hidden in plain sight, was the centerpiece of the plan. Through meticulous investigation, the police began piecing together the final, horrifying truth. Tracing the device in the ventilation system back to its origin, they discovered it had been purchased by a former executive from the same company where the couple worked. Records showed that this individual had recently resigned under suspicious circumstances, shortly after the fraud investigation that the couple had helped uncover. The connections were too precise to ignore. The financial losses, the motive, and the timing all pointed toward a single person with both knowledge and a personal vendetta. Further examination of the executive's recent movements revealed even more chilling details. Surveillance footage from nearby stores and streets indicated that he had been near the cinema on multiple occasions, always during late-night hours when the theater was empty. These visits coincided with maintenance periods, suggesting that he had used these opportunities to access the ventilation system without drawing attention. The device itself had been engineered with care, designed to release a deadly poison slowly, ensuring the deaths would appear mysterious and undetectable. The final piece of the puzzle came from the autopsy reports combined with the ventilation analysis. Investigators confirmed that the poison had drifted downward precisely where the couple had been sitting, the dark corner of the last row serving as the perfect trap. The murderer had counted on the couple's predictable habits, selecting that specific theater, that specific row, and that specific night. It was a plan executed with terrifying precision, leaving no immediate evidence of foul play. The revelation shook the community. A place once associated with leisure and safety had been turned into a calculated killing ground. The couple, who had gone to the movies expecting a simple night together, had instead become victims of a carefully orchestrated crime.